Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back. We are back. Season 8 is kicking off, and it is an amazing season so far. Today, I am joined by Catherine Campbell. Catherine Campbell is part of our Tactical Emergency Medical Services team. She's an advanced care paramedic. She's been with EMS for 13 years, and she's been with 7 years in TEMS, which is Tactical EMS, located here in Edmonton. And I was introduced to Kat via Sheila Farrell, who is one of my very good friends. Love her. If you haven't heard Sheila's episode, it is one of the very first ones in season 1. So head all the way back to season 1 and listen in on her episode because we laugh a lot and tell a lot of funny stories. She's also actually in our Women in Uniform episode, where we talk about the disastrous effects of shitty uniforms and what happens when your pants blow out in the middle of a call and how to deal with that. So if you're looking for a laugh, that's also a great episode to join in on and listen in on. Welcome today, Kat. How are you?
I'm great. I'm just really excited to be invited on a show. I've never been on a podcast before.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We like to have fun on the podcast. We like to laugh. We like to tell funny stories. Basically just a casual conversation between you and I and all of our listeners on how you got into this career, what drew you into a first responder career as a female, and then specifically into paramedic and EMS. And then I love. I've been trying to get somebody from the tactical side on for a while now to hear about what that side of it is and how that kind of differs from your day-to-day, like it just as a regular advanced care paramedic. So yeah, fill us in. How did you get into this career? What drew you into kind of paramedic world?
It's been a wild ride. Like, I am so grateful for what my career has been so far. It's just been the best. I actually started my emergency services career as a firefighter in Morinville. And they had like a student training program so you could join when you're in high school, which is kind of insane. And so I joined when I was 16. And what that means is, they'll take you on the fire department. You're obviously like a teenager, so they watch you very closely so you don't do anything stupid or hurt yourself. But they give you full training. Like, I have my 1001s. And I had a fire radio that I would carry around, and I would just be going about my business in high school. And then my fire radio would go off and I could just leave. Like, I could just leave chemistry class, which was amazing. I always got fire calls in chemistry class, which I was okay with because I hated chemistry. So I'd just leave, and then I would just be like at a car accident, or be like doing like some forestry firefighting or grass firefighting kind of stuff. And so I did that for, I want to say, probably 3 or 4 years. And then the fire department paid to have me do my emergency medical responder. And then I eventually got my primary care paramedic, which was called EMT at the time. And I got that when I was 19. Stayed on the fire department for a total of like 6 or 7 years. Had a really good time, but I decided that being a paramedic was more what I wanted out of my career. And I feel like at the moment when I decided that was, I was on this like really bad car accident. It was kind of, I want to say it was near-ish Stony Plain, but still in our area, obviously. And it was a rollover, somebody was pinned, and there were a bunch of paramedics on this scene, and they were all so level-headed. They knew exactly what was going on. And I was just like, wow, those guys seem like they got it together. And I was always so interested in what was going on with the patient. I was like, are they okay? Like, are they conscious? And so I feel like from a medical standpoint, I just wanted to be more in that world. So anyway, I decided to pursue EMS. I got on with Edmonton when I was probably like 19, 20 years old, way too young. but, we figured it out. And, I did my thing, learned some skills, and I joined Thames in 2000. It was the end of 2016. And they had opened up Thames, which is historically just for advanced care paramedics. But this was kind of one of the first years where they were like, we're going to have special trained primary care paramedics that are cross-trained with the police to be on the Thames ambulances and be partners to the original Thames advanced care paramedic. So on a tactical ambulance, you have an advanced care paramedic who's like the lead, Thames member, and then the primary care paramedic is like the supporting member. That being said, the primary care paramedic actually specializes in riot policing as well. So this is kind of like a double duty position, because you would go and get like advanced crowd control course training, and you could do those deployments those were a whole different thing by themselves. Obviously, riots are kind of different from what SWAT does day to day generally.
Yeah.
So I got on that team. And so that was like my introduction to being in the Thames world. I did that, probably 3 or 4 years, went back to school to be an advanced care paramedic. And then how it works is I had to retry out to get on the team, but as an advanced care paramedic. So I went through the whole process of getting on again. And I was actually the first one to ever have done it that way. Nobody had ever, done the primary care paramedic thing, become an advanced care paramedic, and then had to try it again on Thames. But I don't know. I really liked it. By the time I went through my training as an advanced care paramedic, I felt like I had a good handle on what the expectations were. And so I've been a Thames ACP for 3 years, and it's been pretty wonderful. And kind of what that looks like day to day is, myself and the primary care paramedic will start our day on the ambulance kind of as any other regular ambulance. And, we'll sign on and we'll start doing some, grandma calls or whatever, do some overdoses, all those regular things they do. And, usually sometime throughout the day we'll get activated. So we'll get like a page on our radio just saying, hey, there's a Thames event. And we'll have to free ourselves up from whatever we're doing. There's usually, hopefully, 2 Thames ambulances on, but we've been a little short lately. So usually there's just like one ambulance able to do these events. So that can be a little tricky because, sometimes we're tied up with a patient. So then we have to like fandangle something, at the hospital, see if the nurses will take pity on us and take our patient from us or give us a room. And then once we're freed up, I actually have to change into a completely different uniform. And so normally we're in like a dark blue uniform, but the tactical team changed to like these green uniforms a few years back. So I have to change into one of those. So it's kind of hilarious because if we're really tight on time and like the event is very time sensitive, I'll just be in the back, like hands off, like trying to change. My partner's like taking hard lefts. I'm trying not to like, fall into the door. It's just messy, but that's fine. So, I get changed. I, put on, we have like an internal ballistics vest, and then we have external plates. So the external plates are like for rifles. And, we have like a med kit that's kind of like strapped to your chest usually. We have like a bulletproof helmet and a gas mask and all that good stuff, gloves. So I'll get all that stuff on, meet tactical wherever they are. I switch my radios to police radios. It's a little bit of a production, but after a few reps, you get faster at it. So do a full uniform change, and then we go to our events. And the events we go to, if you just think about in movies what the SWAT team goes to, like that's pretty much it. So we'll go to anything deemed high risk. So that can be like more routine warrants. So if there's like gun warrants, drug warrants, homicide warrants that like a police team needs executed, but they deem it high risk, then, tactical and myself will go in and do it. But then there are like other acute things that will take precedence over those. So if somebody's like on a bridge threatening to jump, if there's a hostage situation. Barricaded persons is something that we get called to quite a bit, actually. And anybody threatening suicide by cop, which is basically like, I want to die and I want the police to shoot me and I'm not coming out without a fight, basically. They say it all the time. Usually people talk a big game and like, very rarely does that actually go down like that. They usually just crumble, but
we call them window warriors at the jail, where they're all in front of the window and they're like, I'm not coming out. You're gonna have to come in and get me. And then you stack up at the door and they're like, okay, hands up, like thrown out. They're like, okay. You're like, yeah, okay, talk to big game at the window, but not so big when the door gets popped.
It's so true though. Like, I have literally no issue with my patients on tactical events being rude to me, because you're gonna be mean to like the only paramedic, like everybody else around them are like large men with guns, like they're not gonna say anything. You know? I feel like I have just so much more trouble doing regular EMS calls. Like people are just so much more mouthy, but you know, these like high risk like criminals are just suddenly not so threatening, you know. The door gets
When you were talking about, I'm just going to bring us back just a little bit, because I love that you started as a firefighter in Morinville. I think that is so cool, and that they took you on as a teenager. That is rad. So was it like, were you part of the Morinville? Like, does Morinville have its own fire department, or is that like part of that paid on call firefighting?
You know, they went to like, it's volunteer fire in Morinville, but they went to like part-time paid on call. So like I would get paid to do calls. And you had like time where you had to be on call, etc. So.
Okay. And then from there, did the EMR course, and then, which is so cool that they put you through that. Like, again, what a great organization to be able to get your feet wet with, and like get like your 1001s and your like, that's amazing. And then you said you have to apply into the TEMS position. So when you were the primary care paramedic, you applied in. So what does that application process look like? And was it different when you came back again as an advanced care paramedic? Like, were there different parameters that you had to meet in the application process between being a primary care and an advanced care?
Yeah, the training, the onboarding process and our training week has changed so much from when I got on as a primary care paramedic. So current day, what it looks like is you send in your application when we have like an expression of interest and we're like, we have some spots we want to fill, and we'll take applications. So you need to have, it's 2 years of experience in your given position of either advanced care or primary care. That's preferred. And then you need some endorsement from like your supervisors. You got to make sure you're not a problem child. If you make it through that initial screening, also you have to like write an essay usually. So you got to write an essay. And then it's usually an interview next. So it's an interview with like our TEMS supervisor, our team lead, the team lead for the primary care paramedics, and usually like a tactical sergeant or staff sergeant will be in on that as well. And then the physical just changed, where it's all in one day, and they make you do, it's EPS's regular yearly physical. So it's like push-ups, pull-ups, plank, grip strength, vertical jump, and a beep test. And there's different categories for where you fall, and they want you to be, I think it's at least silver, but it's competitive. So most people get gold or gold 100. And then they give you a little break, and then you do an obstacle course, I've now had to do this obstacle course twice to get on the team, and I love it. I think it's so fun. And so you do a bunch of running around with like a big heavy backpack and full kit on, and they will make you do a bunch of your medical skills. Like you'll have to intubate or crike, do an IO, like a bone gun for those of you not in EMS.
Okay.
Or an IV. They'll have kind of some skill testing questions for you, and they really want to fatigue you and bring you to that point where you're like so tired you're almost passing out. And then they'll put a gas mask on you that you can't really breathe very well, just to see how you do with being claustrophobic. And yeah, it's a whole thing. Oh, and they'll shit talk you the whole time.
Right. Perfect.
I love watching this. just returned to EMS. I had a baby actually 9 months ago. And
Oh,
I just returned. I brought my baby and just to watch the obstacle course. And so we're like sitting there watching, and there's this one guy, and he's really good. He's on the team now. He made it. But his wife is also in EMS, and she's a fabulous paramedic. And so to chirp him, they were like, oh, really struggling with that airway. Should we go get your wife? She's a way better paramedic. I think she's like, I would just run over there and go get her. And yeah, so it's very physical, but they'll fuck with you. They'll yell at you, the whole thing. So do the obstacle course. Everything is a point system based on your performance. And then after that, they give you another little break, and then you have to go do a 1.5 mile run, and it's sorry, I mixed up the order, but whatever. You have to do all these things. 1.5 mile run in under 12 minutes. And yeah, that's the physical. You have to pass all of those components. If not, you're just automatically taken off. If you make it through those things, then you go to training week. And it used to be 1 week. It was 1 week for when I had got on as an advanced care paramedic. And the police officers, the tactical officers that were kind of helping us with our training, they were like, oh, this is too intense. They're like, this is like way too much stuff. This is like quite physically demanding. They're like, you need to figure out how to make this 2 weeks because there's just too much to learn. So now our kind of hell week, so to speak, is 2 weeks. And it's so cool because they'll actually put you through a rappel course. And yeah, it's so fun. So rappel course, that's 2 days. And then there's also a canine medicine course. So we now have canine medicine.
Is that to help like the EPS canine dogs if there's an, oh my God, so cool.
Cool. So we'll go to the vet, and there's some veterinarians that have kind of signed off on our program, and we'll go do some training with them with actual dogs, which is so wonderful. And yeah, that came to be a year ago. I think it was 7 years in the making. Our former team lead, Greg Vazendowski, wonderful guy, very smart. He managed to get this canine program off the ground because they identified this gap in care for the dogs. And a lot of the things that we actually do in medicine with humans are pretty similar to what you would do with dogs. Like we'll just do some weight-based medication dosing, much in the same way that you would do with children. Intubate them is actually kind of easier than doing it with a human. IVs are basically the same. So yeah, I went through the training and I was like, oh, this is actually not too crazy because it's just doing all this stuff anyway. So yeah, now we do that. So they get a course in that when they get on, and that is the whole process. Then you do like a mentorship on the TEMS ambulance with an existing TEMS ACP, and that is pretty much it. The primary care paramedics get their advanced crowd control training, and that is that is 1 full week, and that's with EPS, and you just kind of get embedded in the course with the police. So you're doing everything. You're marching. They'll gas the shit out of you. Like that is still probably the worst things ever. And I have given birth, but being gassed was not good. It was not good.
I said the same thing because I had all 3 of my girls natural and I got sprayed and I was like, I'm gonna put spray up there with but spray is like short and sweet, not sweet. There's nothing sweet, but short and sweet. Whereas like labor is like for fucking ever. Like you're just like, when is this going to be fucking done? I'm done with this. I'm ready for this baby to come out. And they're like, well, you're only 7 centimeters dilated. So you got another 3 to go. And I'm like,
what are you talking about?
I'm going to start pushing right now. And they're like, don't do that.
You can come out.
Yeah. Whereas spray, it's like awful, awful, awful. But after like an hour and you've decontaminated and then you're like, okay, it still hurts. My face is like burning and my lips are chapped. And like, I feel like my face is on fucking fire still, but it's not like the intense burn of instant being sprayed. And like, within 2 hours, you're good. But like labor is like so much longer. So much longer. Yes, I agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you get on the team, I mean, you'll get OC spray. They didn't spray my class, which is great for me because for anybody listening, I'm a redhead and I'll just fucking die. But I didn't get OC sprayed. Our class, I think they just took pity on us because we had graduation later that day, so they didn't want us like going out to the bar just being covered in fucking spicy pepper spray.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you have that. You get tased. Getting tased wasn't bad, actually, but it was like, have you been tased?
No, we never. They tried to bring it in at the jail, and they rolled it out, and there was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 of our like senior guys that went and got tased, and then they were supposed to bring it back, and then the rest of us were supposed to. And somewhere in between them getting tased and it coming back to us, there was like an all stop from the government where they were like, nope, we're pulling the tasers out of the jail. And so we didn't have to get tased. And I was like, yes.
Tasing wasn't bad, especially like if you've given birth, like it's fine. But the anticipation of like getting tased, so we had to sit through like a half-hour presentation about being tased, and it's like, this is how much electricity is going to go through your body. Don't tase people in the chest because they might go into cardiac arrest, whatever. So you're like sitting in this presentation and you're just shitting your pants. And our training officers they were just taking pictures of us. Like we were just pale and like sweaty because we were just like, oh God. And we were all like, we all got to go to the bathroom before we all have to like take a shit or like pee. Cause we're like, we don't want to just like lose all bodily control. But anyway, nobody peed their pants. It was good. But yeah, you get tased and then you do get CS gassed. And it's not like in the military where they have like those pellets that they heat up. They like take these giant canisters and then they just saturate this gas shack that's like a sea can until you can't see at all because there's so much CS gas. And then they make you sing I'm a Little Teacup with your gas mask off. And then when they think you've had enough and you can't breathe, they'll just kick you out of the shack and they'll just kind of like throw you into the grass. So yeah, it's a good time. I highly recommend joining the team. If you're okay with doing a series of things that you don't want to do, then join the team.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Blue Line Fitness Testing is a premier law enforcement fitness testing and training center based in Edmonton. Specializing in helping individuals prepare for the physical demands of a career in law enforcement, we offer comprehensive fitness evaluations, specialized training programs, and classes tailored to meet the unique needs of our clients. Our facility hosts a range of classes and are committed to fostering a supportive and empowering environment where clients can achieve their fitness goals. Our team includes experienced trainers who bring specialized expertise in law enforcement, self-defense, personal training, and rehabilitation. We engage through our community through challenges, events, and our podcast, and we are dedicated to helping individuals succeed in their fitness journeys and career aspirations in law enforcement. Are you looking to get started with your career? Come see Blue Line Fitness Testing, and we'll get you there.
It's so funny because anytime I talk to people that have done like a tactical or they've done like again, those, or that it just all happens in one day, like that's another one, just like the amount of stuff you have to prepare for in one day, physically, mentally, emotionally, right? They're going to push you to your breaking point. And then at the end of it, we inevitably go, but it's totally awesome. So you guys should totally join. Like, it's so great, guys. You're going to absolutely love it. Meanwhile, we've just described like absolute hell for a day or a week or like, but guys, totally join. It's going to be awesome.
I think it's a traumatic reaction actually, because you just trauma bond with all your teammates.
Yep. So how many people, because you were saying like, so you have 2 TEMS units on,
Yeah.
How many people in total are on the TEMS team?
I had to look this up because I couldn't remember. So we have 33 members total. That's advanced care paramedics and primary care paramedics. There's 15 advanced care paramedics, I believe, and then the rest are primary care paramedics. So if you spread that out across like 4 platoons, that's actually not very many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're a pretty small team.
And how many females?
Oh, geez. I think, okay, we're not quite half, but
Oh, that's good though.
it is pretty good. We had a little picture actually of all of our female TEMS members. So we had a little like girl power moment. So there's quite a few of us actually.
That's awesome. That is really cool, especially considering the physical sounds quite grueling. And like, I know from my law enforcement side of things, that's where we lose a lot of our females in the application process. And it's across the board. Doesn't matter what the female responder first responder career that people are going for. Across the board, that is where most females drop off, is on the physical. And it's either like for fire, like talking again, Edmonton Fire, Calgary Fire, it's because they not necessarily that they don't have the strength, but they don't have the technique proper for the female body size versus the male body size, right? And most videos are showing a male doing it, and it's totally different for a female with shorter lever length, things like that. Or it's that, you know, guys have longer legs, so their stride is longer on the beep test. They're not having to work as hard to get to a level 7 or 8 on a beep test because they can take it in 10 strides, and women are doing it in 12 or 15 strides, right? So like, that's really interesting to hear that there's like that half and half, almost half and half. That's awesome. I love that.
The EPS physical, that is, the numbers are changed for like age range, and then
okay.
So I think when I was trying out to get back on as an advanced care paramedic, I think I aged into an easier bracket, which was amazing. I was like, perfect, gold 100, here we go. I'm gonna get, you know, I'll make it in that category. But yeah, in general, like, we have some like extremely fit female members. We have some very fit older members, actually. Like, we got a couple guys, we always make fun of them because they're the old boys. But like, they're, you know, in their 40s, super fit, mid 40s. And they're, you know, they're faster than most of us still. And yeah, but I don't know. I love our team. We're pretty close, and we're all like relatively similar people, but yeah, different strengths, different weaknesses, and
So are you working, because like that, the other thing that you said that I was really surprised about is that you're not in this full time, like as that you're stationed, like, so like at the jail, we have a response team, and their job is essentially just responding. They're responding to the emergencies, which is kind of what I thought you guys would be, like just stacked up, waiting. There's a tactical call, out you go. But you're actually advanced care paramedicing, normal calls, until, hey, this has come in.
Yeah.
Fucking go.
Yeah.
So are you working, like, are your shifts the same? Like, would they be the same? You're following the same paramedic kind of rotation and shifts and things like that. Yeah. And then if the call runs over, you're just working the OT because now the call has run over. Yeah.
We'll get OT, but we, you know, there's going to be like a night shift, AC, Thames ACP usually anyway. So there hopefully is somebody to like switch off with you. If there isn't, you have to like make that decision of, do I just stay here for like a few more hours until the file is concluded? And, you know, what's my move there? So that's kind of tough. But yeah, our model, it's really interesting. I like the way it works. So we are doing regular medicine all the time. We're just doing regular paramedic stuff. And then, you know, in the middle of our day, or at the beginning of the day, or at the end of the day, we'll just get activated. And then we kind of turn into this piece of the puzzle that goes and is integrated with the tactical police officers. But I like the way we do it because we're all very current and very well practiced in medicine. Like, we're not going to go months without doing an IV. You know, all of us have done traumatic events or like trauma events with like, you know, shootings, stabbings. Like, we practice this all the time. And in my mind, I would rather get really good at doing stabbings and shootings on, you know, maybe some shit rats and then just cut my teeth there. And then if one of the officers or, you know, one of our teammates gets hurt, I want to be like really sharp. So I'm like, oh, this isn't my first time needle decompressing, you know, this isn't my first time intubating, all that stuff. So there are different tactical EMS models, like RCMP, their ERT team, they have a Thames paramedic, but they are first and foremost like a sworn police officer who then goes and gets additional medical training.
Okay.
Is my understanding. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what it sounds like. Whereas us, like, we are paramedics first. And, you know, I don't carry a gun. I got no business with a gun. But I can do medicine. I know I can do medicine. I've done it for 13 years. I got it. So, and I really like that because, you know, tactical can go do their thing. They can go get the bad guy. They can take care of XYZ. And, you know, if something happens to them, or more, you know, more common is something happens to the criminal. It's
Yes.
really stupid, or even a civilian.
Yeah.
But
so when there's a call, because like, we always like police has to secure the scene before EMS will come on, usually like for a regular call, right? Like, so they're just stacked up, they're waiting, they get the all clear. Yep. Come on in. Same with fire. Okay. It's gotta be, it was a call. Police has to go in and deal with the police stuff first, and then fire and EMS will respond. So with Thames, is it the same? Like you're basically hanging back and then police are like, oh yeah, buddy slashed, coming, we need you. Or, oh yeah, the dog bit the shit out of him because he wasn't listening and now we got to go help him, or, we need you to help him. So you're kind of stacking and waiting, or are you stacked up with like the TAC team behind the shields and like, we're going together, like, marching up or whatever?
Yeah. So I will be, it depends how much they trust you, but for me anyway, so far, they'll just, I'll be in the armored vehicle with them. If we're hiding behind a fence or on the other side of a house or whatever, I'll be with that team. So I will be right there. They certainly won't put me at the front of the stack, but put it that way. I'll be at the back, just trying not to get into trouble. But the ambulance and my primary care paramedic partner will be maybe like half a block away, sometimes closer, depending on what tactical wants, depending on what the event is. But yeah, I'll be right there with them. And like, that's where the piece of having those plates comes in, of like 2 ballistic vests, got my helmet, all my protective equipment. So that's the advantage of Thames, because it's like, do you just call for a regular ambulance to stage? And if there's no Thames at all, that's just what they'll do. They'll just get like regular paramedics in an ambulance, and they'll be like, stay a few blocks away. Don't talk to anybody. Don't move. Don't do anything. If we need you. Whereas because we have all this training and I have this equipment and this uniform and these plates, I can be closer, so that if shit hits the fan with them, like I am right there to deal with massive hemorrhage control and all the things that can kill people in a matter of minutes. Whereas I'm a few blocks away, you could bleed out in that time, depending on where you get hit. So yeah.
It's funny, not funny, but I didn't think, I just thought bad guy care is what I was thinking that Thames did. And I love that you're just reiterating, we're there for the officers. Like that's really what we're there for. And then, the bad guy needs a little bit of help. Well, we'll also help them. But like, if an officer gets shot, if an officer gets stabbed, if you are right there to provide that immediate, and the canines, again, like I didn't even think about canine, and it happens all the time. They get hurt all the time, right? Like they get punched and they get kicked and they get, like thrown around with the bad guys that are, so yeah, I love that there is that safety side of things for our officers and our canines. That's awesome. Yeah. So when you're going to the calls, like so the other thing I was thinking of is like, you're with a patient at the hospital. You're just like, basically like, we gotta go. So like, hey, bud, don't leave the bed. Nursey, can you come over here and take a another paramedic crew, can you take this over?
Yeah.
And then, I was just gonna say, and then it's like, you've done your Passover and you are lights and sirens responding to where you need to go. And if you can't get rid of your patient, then you're just stuck and you don't get a Thames response. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, basically. And it doesn't happen very often. Like usually we could figure something out. And that the piece of like, you don't want to abandon your patient like that. You can't do that.
Yes.
Like, see your grandma, like, got to get my green pajamas on. So you got to like, I'll usually go to the triage nurse and I have like a decent rapport with most of them. And I'll have to like explain what I am, and I'll be like, I have to go do a police event. If I'm the only Thames medic on, I'll be like, I am the only one that can do this right now. If you have any beds that I could take, is there anywhere we can put this patient? And a lot of nurses don't understand what we are. Like it doesn't, whatever. So I have to kind of like quickly explain what my role is and why I need to leave. And most of them are like pretty good. So yeah, that's the downside to our model of, still doing regular medical responses, is that like we're all busy, so there's not usually a time where we're just like sitting at station, eating ice cream and, we're busy. We're like out there doing other things. So yeah, it's a lot of work. Like the team is a lot of work. And when I explain to our new recruits, like just regular kind of paramedic new recruits, we'll go and do like a little talk with them and explain what our team is in the event that a few years down the line they're interested in joining. And yeah, what I reiterate to the people just getting into EMS is that it's a lot of work. Like you're going to be a full-time paramedic, and then on your days off, there's training. You'll get paid for it. You won't get overtime, but you'll get paid for it. And like you got to work really hard. And then aside from that, you need to maintain a physical standard because that matters. Like, can you drag a dude that's 250 and then probably closer to like 320 with all of his gear on and still do some of your medical skills and keep your head about you? Like it's a lot of work.
Is there ongoing like learning? Like, do you have to research your fitness like every year or anything like that?
Yeah. So we have yearly fitness standards. So it's twice a year. In the spring, it is the regular EPS fitness standard. So we'll just, go do our push-ups, pull-ups, plank, all that good stuff. And then in the fall, we do our 1.5 mile run and we do an obstacle course. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's
yeah. I was gonna say that's a lot because most first responder agencies, like you get in and it's like, okay, you're done. Like you did your fitness test and you're in, and now like EPS, RCMP, they'll keep like they've got like a yearly or every 2 years they've got to do a kind of a check-in on their fitness, right? But most agencies don't. Like as soon as like when you got into corrections, you ran your COPAT to get into corrections, and then after that you didn't run it again until like I ran it for TAC to get on the tactical team. I think people run it now to go to training academy, like to be training sergeants and stuff in the training academy. But before that, like it was like you ran it once and you're like, done, I'm good. Right. So it's nice to see because that is true. Like, I mean, and you do, like lots of people do, once you get into shift work, let your fitness slide a little because now you're not eating normally, you're not sleeping normally, you're all over the place for your schedule, you're tired, right? So that's good. That's good that they keep you kind of accountable like that. Is there like a timeout? Like after X amount of years, it's like, okay, your time on Thames is done. We want to make room for new people, or like, do they kind of say like, okay, after this time, you're done?
Yeah, it's 7 years, but we've been like we've been pretty short for the last couple of years, and it's kind of hard being short, but I actually don't mind that we're short people a little bit because we will only take the correct people. Like we will never take, if we need to fill 5 seats, we'll never just take 5 people if they are not absolutely the correct people to be on the team. And so we've had hiring classes, like not the one we just did, but the one before that. Like we only ended up taking like 1 advanced care paramedic and then 2 primary care paramedics. Like it was a very small class. And I was like, I really appreciate that. Yep. They picked the right people to be on our team with us. I love that.
So the timeout of basically like 7 years. Yeah. No, and I like that you're saying that they're getting the right people, because I feel like across the board, again, in first responder world, everybody's begging for people. Everybody is short. Everybody needs extra staff. And so we are doing, I don't like to call them pity hires, but sometimes they're a pity hire. And it's just like, well, they match 4 of the 6 boxes. So like, that's good enough.
Good.
Yeah. And then as the officer that's on, you're like, 4 of the 6 is not good. Like we cannot and I mean, sometimes we get people where I'm like, okay, I could work with this. I can work with the staff. It's going to be fucking hell, but I can work with them and get them to where they need to be. But then there's positions like, again, where I would say like Thames, you can't work with somebody to get them up to speed. Like you're either on or off. And like, if you're not on, I don't want you out here because now you're a fucking liability to me.
Yeah,
so
it's not a liability just to our team. Like it is a liability to the tactical officers. And like, they don't need that. If something goes down, we need to make sure they go home at the end of the day. Like they need to go home to their families, right? Like it's really important. But with the 7-year here, we have one guy, Todd. Sorry, Todd, you're kind of old. Todd's been around for a long time. We love him. He's really fit. He knows what he's doing, but he's been at least on the team for like 10 years, I think, maybe longer. But you know what? We have open spots. So it's not like we're certainly not rushing to push him like off the truck. He's got like lots of experience, very knowledgeable. So it's definitely not this hard and fast rule. And we have another medic, and Mike, he actually retired from Thames, and he was like, oh, I'll make room for the new people. So he retired off Thames, but then we were really short, and periodically we would just be like, Mike, we got no way to do this file. And then we'd just pull him out of retirement. So
Yes.
and he would just go get some Thames gear from somebody, and he would go do a file. So Mike actually recently returned back, and he's like a senior reservist. And so, yeah, he does Thames files, and we're happy to have him. Like, why not, you know?
Yeah, I think there's the flip side of like, if like, because again, like coming from corrections, we've got people that kind of get into those roles and then they just stay there for forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And you're like, okay, it's time for you to move on. Like, it's time for you to make space for new blood, new skills, new people. And they don't want to fucking let go. Like, this is this is who they are, and this is where they want to end their career. And so that gets frustrating because you're just like, okay, but you're taking up a spot. But it's nice to hear that, there is still spots open. So even though you're hanging on to those guys, which again, I will 100% admit, a lot of those guys have a shit ton of experience. And when they leave, it does leave a massive hole on the team, because you go, who was the only person that knew how to do that? Oh, it was Mike. Mike was the only one who knew how to do that. And now Mike's gone, and fuck, what do we do now? Right? Like, oh God, where's Mike? Where's Mike? Call him.
Like having those guys that are more senior, and then having some like middle of the pack kind of people, and then teaching the newer guys how to be on the team. We got a good mix, so we're not like, things aren't stagnant, we'll put it that way.
That's good. Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of the calls that you guys go out to, so I just want to kind of touch on those two. So we're going gun, homicide, drug warrants, suicidal, hostages, barricaded people, things like that. And you kind of mentioned you're seeing a lot of barricaded people, death by suicide. Or a death by cop. I'm not coming out. I've got somebody in here. Is there more of is there another call that you see a lot of that kind of you get called out to would be like, I hate to say a regular call because nothing is ever regular in our world, but
man, I feel like the barricaded person is like the number one that I end up on. And maybe I'm just thinking of it because they take so long. Like, you have a barricaded person call and you're on there for fucking 6 hours.
Yeah.
At least, because it's a very slow process. And I know you had a tactical officer on your show. You had Sergeant Walker.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So I know he definitely talked about, I'm sure, all these sorts of calls that they do. But yeah, it feels like the barricaded person call is common in my mind, aside from the routine warrants, which if you're looking at actual numbers, I think the routine warrants probably are more than the barricaded people. But yeah, a barricaded person as well is like, maybe somebody went and like beat somebody up or like murdered somebody, and then we think they're in this house, so we need to like go get them and go clear that house. They may or may not be in that house. Sometimes they're not. But you have to treat it as though there is somebody in that house. So you do things like very carefully, and maybe like send in a drone to go clear the residence first before we actually send in tactical officers to go clear the residence. So that one's pretty common. I feel like we get a lot of like false people threatening to like jump off bridges or buildings. And usually it's like a bad tip, or somebody's not actually, they're like standing on the bridge, but they're not really going to jump.
Yeah.
We get some of those. What else? Yeah. I mean, the warrants one is definitely the most common. They do train us in some other interesting things that, like, I hope career-wise I never have to do. But a couple of years back, I did some training it was how to clear an airplane. So let's say like somebody, hijacks an airplane, but it's like on the ground. It's like, how do you get in that airplane? How do you sneak up on the gunman? How would you clear an airplane? And then from my perspective, how would you treat people in medical distress that have potentially been shot? Everybody's been in an airplane. It's very tight. So
totally
drag a bleeding body out of the airplane, and then actually how we would get to the doors. And about an airplane on the ground, like those doors are very high off the ground. We use baggage belts. So, it's like a conveyor
Yeah.
belt thing. So it's so hilarious. Tactical they'll all load up on this conveyor belt and they'll all lay down. And then somebody will like drive the conveyor belt like up to the side of the airplane. And then they'll all stand up and open the door. And then they'll like file in and clear it.
Yeah.
And on those training events, they're like, we need paramedics because somebody will fucking fall off that belt. And one year this dude fell out of the airplane, I think, and he like really hurt his back. Like I think or one of his vertebrae.
Yeah.
So they were like, we need TEMS on this course, obviously to get you guys trained, but also just in case somebody fucking falls off the conveyor belt or out of the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
It's weird stuff. Yeah.
That's true though. Like again, like these are all like situations where I'm like, oh yeah, I never would have thought of that. And yeah, how are you doing freaking medical care in the airplane? Because like the aisle is fucking tiny. You can't even lay a body down in the aisle. You wouldn't be able to do anything. You can't do CPR. You'd be like fucking hanging over the chair and doing fucking compressions on the body on the floor. Like
the style of medicine that we do, it's trauma combat casualty care, which I'm sure is like no surprise to anybody. So if you're in a hostile environment where there's gunfire, there's only a few things that you're going to try to accomplish. Number one, and I wrote this down, our priority is not to get shot in the face, first and foremost, and then secondarily try and control massive hemorrhage and, tourniquets or whatever else.
Mhm.
And then just like basic airway stuff. And then you want to like drag the person out or like a better place to get cover. Like the actual medicine in the combat zone is pretty basic. Of course, it's like a lot higher stakes as I'm saying that. Like everything's just gonna be more difficult. But yeah, your goal is to get out of that hostile environment and then do better medicine and or hand off the patient to like another, like an EMS crew, so you can get back in the combat environment. And because we're like the only medics that are supposed to be in that environment, so like we need to be there.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't think of that either. You're not providing the care. You're just getting immediate life-saving measures on, and then fucking see ya next one. See ya next one. Yeah.
Luckily, there's usually only like one patient, so I'll do everything like start to finish, and yeah, it's so ridiculous. But most of the time, everybody's fine. Nothing too crazy happens. Tactical's very good at what they do. They'll like the element of surprise and just try and like snag the criminal really quick before he can do any damage to like anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, still most of the time we'll do like, the complete range of medical care. And, once we're out of that zone of being kind of in danger, then we could do like proper medicine, like good medicine, brilliant medicine. Tape your IV, do spinal motion restriction, usually.
Yeah. I like that. That's really cool. So when you like, what would you say? Because I know that I'm taking quite a bit of your afternoon, and I can hear your little sweetie baby in the background a little bit. So cute. But what would you say has been one of like the craziest calls you've been to? One of like the ones that you're just like, I will never forget this call because of this.
Oh man, there was this one tour, and I'll never forget this. I was like kind of newly pregnant, and like I did tactical events pregnant till maybe 28 weeks. So like I didn't go for a really long time, so I did all sorts of stuff. But there was this one work week, and I actually got called in early along with my partner because there was like the Eritrean riots that happened.
Yes. Yep.
So we had one of our riot primary care paramedics deployed with the police on that event, but then things just got super fucking crazy. And our teammate, Ty is his name, he was doing great medical care. He was managing, but they were like, we need reinforcements for sure. So they actually did an all call out for all police officers in the city. And I think peace officers and RCMP as well, because it was just like so many people and they were so violent. But anyway, so, we got called in early, went to do this, riot event. It fortunately like simmered out relatively quickly after we got there, but there was that was a first. And the crowd was like, they were sharpening flags into spears. They were throwing bottles of pee. They were throwing rocks. Like they were just super rambunctious there. It was not good. But that was pretty interesting. And my partner, they were gonna do some gas. They were gonna do some CS gas on the crowd. And my partner was like, what happens if you inhale CS gas because you're pregnant? And I was like, I don't really know. So I was like Googling on the way to the event. I was like, is CS gas bad for pregnant women?
Yeah.
So whatever, we went and did that and worked our night shifts. And then I decided to pick up an extra night shift to work this opposite shift that I like never work on. I wanted to work with this guy who I've never had a chance to work with, but I like him a lot. So I was like, okay, I'll pick up and work with my friend Rich. And so I picked up, and it was the night of the West Edmonton Mall shooting. There was three people shot.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy crap. So yeah, went and did that. And I, had my little backpack on and with all my med gear. And people kept calling from inside the mall. People were like sheltering in place, like in the stores, but they kept calling 911 to be like, my daughter is having this medical event, and like no paramedics are going in there. So like I went. So there's just a video of me on like Yeg Wave, and I'm just hauling my ass through West Edmonton Mall. And wouldn't you know it, we have to go to the opposite end of WEM.
Right.
We're sweating. Like our backpacks are probably 30 pounds. And then there's like the rest of the stuff we're wearing. So yeah, between those two events, like for that week, I was like, I'm tired of career firsts, man. Like I'm morning sick. Like had like anti-nausea pills shoved into my pants. Like
eating them like candy, like
Yeah, it was just so, I've certainly had some other events that was really fun and fun for us,
Yep.
And then, I got to do like rappel training actually for the first time that year as well. But I was like 6 months pregnant.
You're like, this harness is a little tight, it's a little snug.
It wasn't too bad. I talked to our like rappel master, Todd, who's that old guy who, and I was like, they were like, you're up for this rappel course. And they hadn't done it for like 4 or 5 years. And I was like, I really want to go on this course. Like, and I was like, I don't know, like, Todd, can I go on this course? I'm kind of pregnant. And he's like, I don't see why not. I was like, good enough for me. And so I have a couple pictures of me, like, and I didn't show again, like, till far in my pregnancy. So I don't look pregnant, but I'm like rappelling off the building in a blizzard.
Yeah.
Pretty stoked about it. Like, it was pretty fun.
That is cool. I know. I was the same with my pregnancy. I was on TAC and I was pregnant, and we had, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't a big call out. Like it was like, I think it was like just a cell extraction, which is just usually like a team of 6 that goes and stacks up. And again, it's always window warriors. Like of all the cell extractions I did, I think we fought one guy, like out of like, oh my God, so many, right? Because you stack up the door, as soon as the team shows up, the guys are like, nope, I'm done. Like fucking, they slide the weapon underneath the door and they fucking lay, and you're like, so you don't ever, but you're all dressed up and you look scary, and okay, they're gonna totally. Well, and I remember going back down, and I was like, I had to take my belt off because I was like, and I was probably like 4 or 5 months, but it was my first, so it was like I wouldn't say I was showing, but I was definitely like chubby, like my belly. And you can't suck it in, because that's the other part, right? When you get chubby, you just suck in a little bit more and you can still get your belt on. But I was like sucking in, and I couldn't suck in anymore because the baby's not going anywhere. And I let my belt go, and I was like, and one of the guys looked over and he like looked at me, and then he looked at my belly, and then he looked at me, and he looked back at my belly, and then he gave me this eye, and I was like, just shut up. And he was like, and I was like, just shut up. I will tell them in my own time. And he was like, you can't even suck that in anymore. And I was like, shut up. Fucking shut up.
Just yourself, like how you feel. Like I felt like be damn good the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time I had to change into my like tactical uniform, it was a new adventure as to whether or not my pants were going to fit.
Yeah.
There was like this one event, managed to get my pants on, but I was like standing there, like outside of this house, kind of hiding behind this wall. And I was just like, oh man, these pants are tight. So I'm like texting, one of our supervisors. I was like, Brian, I need some pants. Like you can steal mine. Like when you get back to this, I was like, okay, perfect. It's fine. It's been a good career. It's been really interesting.
Okay. I want to wrap up with a couple of rapid fire questions because I love these ones. And I think you're going to have some really, really interesting answers. But the number one that I've asked all my guests all across all, I guess, 8 seasons now. And this one I think will be interesting for you because you don't have a set like schedule, right? Is what is your favorite food or snack when you're on shift?
Oh man. I fucking love pizza. Like cold pizza. Or if I'm on tactical events, I'll just shove hot rods or beef jerky. Like I'll have it in my med pouch. Like that pouch is supposed to be for like really important stuff. So I got like tourniquets, things for needle decompression, things for sucking chest wounds. And then there's just going to be a hot rod in there. So if I'm wound packing, you might end up with a hot rod in there. Locks and a hot rod. And so, yeah, that's usually, I like that. Not good for you, but that's what I eat.
It's, you know what? And I always say majority of answers are something that can be eaten with one hand, minimal like wrapping, packaging, just easy grab, shove it in your face, chew it while you're doing 10 other things, and quick energy. So yeah, hot rods, beef jerky, check the box, all of those things.
I love it.
Okay. The other one I have for you, and I think again, you'll have a really interesting answer for this because you probably have some really cool equipment, but what is your favorite piece of equipment that you get to use or that you bring with you or that you have as like a tool in your tool belt for when you're on these events?
That's a hard one. This is just kind of unique to our team. We have something called a junctional tourniquet. And I don't know if you've ever seen those or heard of them. So a regular tourniquet, as we know, it's a little loop. It goes on your arms or legs. But if somebody has like a bullet wound or something that's kind of high up, think like near your kind of shoulder rotator cuff or right high in your groin. Mm-hmm. We have these junctional tourniquets that kind of apply pressure to these pressure points on your torso. And it's just this really weird piece of equipment. You have to like train on it pretty often because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. But I think that thing's pretty cool.
That is really, because I teach first aid and there's people inevitably ask me, because like we say like, okay, you're, a bear attack on your leg, you're out hunting. Where are you putting the tourniquet? Are we doing it above the wound or below the, right? Like we have to fucking really, like where's the blood coming from? How are we stopping it? But a lot of times they'll ask like, yeah, what happens if you get it in the hip or in the pelvis where you can't really like tourniquet something? Or again, like you're saying, like kind of up in the shoulder, like right where the shoulder arm meets the kind of torso. And I'm always kind of like, well, I think you're fucked then. So
if you don't have a junctional tourniquet, you just like wound pack and hold pressure, or you can like try and find the artery that's hemorrhaging or vein. You could try and pinch it if you really want to shove your hand in there. But yeah, you do your best.
There you go. There you go. And I'm always like, we do what the first aid manual says all the time, which is we call EMS and we tell them to come fast. That's what we do.
My God, get over here. There's a bunch of Kool-Aid on the ground.
Yeah. We're like, the guy's bleeding out. I really need you to come a lot faster, please. Lights and sirens. Thank you.
One of my favorite pieces of equipment. I love rappel training. So really like our harnesses or anything like that. I mean, I'm dying to use one of those on a call. Just, put me in, coach.
Yeah. You're going to be like, what is it? Mission Impossible off the side of the building. Yes. Yes. I like it. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. The last one I have for you is like, how do you continue to learn in order to stay kind of on top of things within your role? Changes to medicine, changes to procedures, things like that. What was some of that professional development that you do?
Every couple years, sometimes sooner, I'll do like a PALS course and an ACLS course. So pediatric advanced life support. I just did it last month actually. And advanced care life support. And those are like your not basic actually. It's pretty involved course, but that's like your bread and butter when you work as an advanced care paramedic. Like you can have the sickest people, and in general, the way you manage them is in those courses. So I'll take those courses. I love taking students. Like if you take an advanced care paramedic student, their brains are just so fresh with information, and they'll ask you the most in-depth, complicated questions, and you'll just be like, okay, I guess I need to go look something up and give you an answer. So that helps as well. I often will look things up, like I'll look up studies or meta-analyses on different subjects if I come across something in my day-to-day like EMS job where I'm just like, I don't know what that disorder is, or I forget. And I'll make sure I look up current practice, like what to do, and know your protocols as well. Our protocols are really well written. So I need to know, like, what are we cleared to do? And it changes pretty often. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't tell us when it changes. So you got to really look. And I also am an instructor at Emergency Services Academy now. And so, you got to really be thinking about a lot of stuff when you're teaching those guys. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, because they come up with the what ifs, and you're just like, okay, I need you to just dial in. Can we just stop with the what ifs? But it is good because it makes you think. It makes you like, I did a lot of training too in the jail and the what ifs, and then you're just like, okay, but that would never happen.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
I like the enthusiasm though.
Yes, yeah. It's like it is good because then you're like, well, if they're thinking about it, maybe it will happen, and maybe we should have a procedure, or maybe I should be thinking about what could. If this happened and this happened and then this happened, what would we do? So yeah, that's good. I really like that. Oh, well, this has been I've learned this has been an episode where I've really learned a bunch of things I had literally no idea. Most of the careers I'll talk to people, I'm like, oh, I had an inkling about that, or like, oh, that's kind of a new piece of information. But like, I legitimately had no information whatsoever on TEMS. I had seen the pamphlet, talked to a couple paramedics, knew it was out there, but I didn't really know what your guys' role was. And you did such a phenomenal job in explaining it all and like putting it out there, the application process, like all of that stuff, and then what you guys are doing. So thank you 100,000,000% for coming on the show and sharing that, because I think this is going to be an episode a lot of our listeners are just going to be like, holy shit, I want to do this. I want to go and I want to do this. I want to get on this team and I want to be part of this, because it sounds like one of the most rad jobs that you could have for sure.
So fun. I love it. I really do. Like a lot of people have done it will say that it's one of the best things they ever did during their career. It was like a highlight.
Yes. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, again, thank you for coming on the show. Do you have any kind of last words, any last thoughts, any advice you want to leave with our listeners?
Oh man. I mean, just if you guys are in emergency services at all, enjoy your career. Stay healthy, do a bunch of things outside of your career that you really love. And I guarantee you'll have better longevity. Like just get a bunch of hobbies, keep them up, get a bunch of friends that aren't in any of the things that you do. And have a good time. I'll maybe give you my email to give listeners if anybody has any questions about like tactical EMS. If you're interested in coming to volunteer for us, when we do training, we will take people who will chorees, what we call it, and we'll just like turn you into patients. And that's, I think, hands down the best experience in knowing and seeing the training that we do, because you'll be right in it with us and you'll get lots of exposure to really cool things. So yeah, if you guys are interested, let me know. And thanks for having me.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.